tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. Big breaking news right now.
After legal advice, I have decided to publish the witness statement.
Well, it's just happened, and I'm not really sure it's the win that Keir Starmer thought it might have been, because he's published the China spy case evidence, or at least the witness statement from it, and it raises several serious questions. And we've got an expert on to tell you exactly how much trouble the Prime Minister is currently in. And
of course, we're looking at further measures on tax and spending to make sure that the public finances always add up.
It's the nightmare before Christmas, isn't it? Rachel Reeves has heavily implied that she's going to come for more of your money just in time for your Christmas shop. That's nice, isn't it? Meanwhile,
we beat the mainstream media in the United States, we beat the establishment in the United States, and he created the greatest political movement in the history of this country.
You're not going to want to miss the Late Show live tonight with Bev Turner from midnight. And finally, do you remember this?
No. How many new homes have been built since Labour took power?
I don't have the exact. I'm not Wikipedia.
You don't have...
Well, the Housing Secretary didn't know how many homes Labour had actually built. Why would he? Not like it's his job or anything. Not like he was handing out hats that said build, baby, build. Not like they were going on about how many homes they were building. Anyway, according to the I paper, their front page, leaked memo reveals that Labour's plan to slash affordable homes targets. So there you go. The whole time he was sitting there, you know, patting himself on the back about house building. Presumably he was aware that they'd actually slashed affordable homes targets. But don't worry, because you're going to pay to rebuild Gaza instead. Joining us this evening, we have the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. We have got journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov and GBNews contributor and comedian Steve N. Allen. Heck of a lot to go at tonight. The breaking news, the China spy scandal, after your headlines with Sam Francis.
Patrick, thank you, and good evening to you. 2 minutes past 11. Well, revealed tonight the scale of Chinese espionage inside Parliament here in the UK and how two governments described Beijing. The UK has published 3 witness statements from Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Collins, written for the collapsed trial of 2 men accused of spying for China. Under the Conservatives in 2023, Collins said the Chinese state recruited 1 man as an agent to pass parliamentary information that gave Beijing a, quote, strategic advantage. A later Labour-era statement described China as the biggest state threat to the UK's economic security, but also committed to a positive relationship to boost growth. Then, by August this year, Collins warned of large-scale espionage operations threatening Britain's democracy, concluding that the UK must, quote, cooperate where we can, compete where we need to, and challenge where we must. Well, it comes after Sir Keir Starmer today, during Prime Minister's questions, insisted officials were not directed or influenced before giving evidence in the trial.
I'm deeply disappointed by the outcome. We wanted to see prosecutions. Mr. Speaker, I know just how seriously, rightly, that you take these matters. National security will always be the first priority of this government, and after legal advice, I have decided to publish the witness statement. Given the information contained, we will conduct a short process, but I want to make clear I intend to publish the witness statements in full.
And more on that developing story with Patrick and the panel tonight. Well, fears are growing with the fragile Gaza ceasefire potentially unravelling as Hamas has claimed it's now returned all the bodies it can find. The group has said retrieving any others would require significant efforts and specialised equipment. In a statement from Israel, they've confirmed the remains of 2 more hostages have been handed to the Red Cross, but it means 19 hostages remain unaccounted for. Under the first phase of the peace plan, Hamas was required to return 28 bodies. It follows a day of tension after Israel revealed 1 body handed over last night was not a missing hostage. Meanwhile, in Washington, President Donald Trump has told reporters he'd consider letting Israel resume fighting if Hamas fails to meet the ceasefire deal. He said Israel will return to the streets as soon as I say the word. A misconduct hearing for a Metropolitan Police firearms officer who shot dead Jermaine Baker during a foiled prison break nearly a decade ago has today been dismissed. The officer, known as Whiskey 80, fired the fatal shot in 2015 as police stopped a plot to free prisoners. A public inquiry in 2022 had already found Mr Baker was lawfully killed. The misconduct panel today ruled there was no case to answer, ending what the Met Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley called a decade of legal madness.
The system itself, the regulations which hold police to account, do not have the right balance. As I say, they're exploited too often by criminals and their legal teams to undermine police officers' confidence. And we need a system which looks fairly at split-second decisions taken by officers in the most difficult operational moments.
Those are the latest headlines. Plenty more still to come right here with Late Edition.
Welcome along to Late Edition. Let's get Thursday's front pages. The Eye. Leaked memo reveals Labour plan to slash affordable homes target. So, yeah, there you go. All that house building. Well, not really, is it? The Metro. Jailed for 17 years by her parents. We're going to get a bit more detail on that story shortly. There. At The Sun, they could have saved Liam. It's a story about Liam Payne. Liam Payne, of course, who suddenly died after falling off a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires. This is about a cleaner who's locked up over Liam Payne's death. Says the former One Direction star could have been saved, but was failed ultimately by hotel bosses. There's a story here about them not calling an ambulance when the singer collapsed in the lobby, etc., etc. And there is a raft of CCTV footage as well about his final moments. The Daily Mirror, £145 million owed, not a penny paid back. It's a Michelle Mone story. The Health Secretary, West Streeting, is vowing to pursue the firm linked to Michelle Mone over the PPE scandal. The Independent reveal terrible revenge of the Taliban that shames Britain. They say more than 100 former Afghan forces killed since 2023 as murderous regime hunts down and tortures our former comrades. I'll just say about this a couple of things. Firstly, if that's true, then obviously very sympathetic towards them. However, deeply sceptical, given the fact that we've allowed an unfathomable amount of people who claim to have been working for us to come to Britain, many of whom have returned on holiday to Afghanistan. And, yeah, I mean, if it's true, terrible, but how do we know, really? Anyway, The Guardian. Budget will raise taxes on wealthy to fix public finances, says Rachel Reeves. Define wealthy, I suppose. The Daily Telegraph. Cummings. China stole secrets in major hack. Now, we are about to get into a raft of China stories here. So apparently the Chinese basically hacked into the government secrets and had been there for some time. The Daily Express. Kemi. It stinks of a China cover-up by the Prime Minister. Daily Mail. Chinese stole secrets from Number 10 for years. The Times, Whitehall data breach gave secrets to the Chinese. Now, those are your front pages, but this is the breaking line tonight, because in the past few minutes, the government has published key witness statements from Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Collins. These are the ones that he made as part of the collapsed China spy case. Collins says that Chinese intelligence services were highly capable and conduct large-scale espionage operations, like the one that's on the front of several national newspapers, hacking into government secrets. But he went on to say that the government is committed to pursuing a positive relationship with Beijing. And the Conservatives have hit out, saying this statement falls short of everything that was ultimately requested. They want the full China files. I'm just going to remind you, before I go to an expert guest on this, of what was said at PMQs today by our Prime Minister.
On Monday, the Security Minister repeatedly told the House that ministers did not take decisions, that it was the Deputy National Security Advisor who had full freedom. Is the government seriously saying that only one man, the Deputy National Security Advisor, had anything to do with this failure? Is he seriously saying that the Deputy did not discuss with the National Security Advisor, did not discuss with the Home Secretary or with anyone in Downing Street? Is the Prime Minister seriously saying that?
Yes.
Well, I am joined now by the Executive Director of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China. It's Luke de Pulford. Luke, thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. Can I just ask you, just to explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old child, OK, what the significance of what we heard in Parliament today was, and what the significance of the witness statements that we have just had revealed to us are, please?
OK, so the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, said very clearly, are you blaming the Deputy National Security Advisor? Are you saying that the evidence that was provided to the Crown Prosecution Service in this case all depended on him, and that he acted with no political interference whatsoever? He didn't speak to anybody about the evidence he was including. And the Prime Minister said yes. And when he said yes, everybody's eyebrows were raised at that point, because that would be very odd to have the Deputy National Security Advisor not speak to his boss, not speak to the Home Office or anyone else. So everybody was thinking, well, that's very strange. Then these files were published, and this is the key, and this is what I think many people will miss. The first statement that Matt Collins produced under the Conservative government included no paragraph about the government's current policy. The second statement, which was under the Labour government in February 2025, said, and it began with, "It is important for me to emphasise, however, that the UK government is committed to pursuing a positive relationship with China." The third statement also includes that paragraph, but then finishes it with a statement of what was in the Labour Party manifesto. The reason that this is so important is that the government has been saying for the past couple of weeks that this was all about the previous government's policy. It had nothing to do with current Labour policy. And if that's the case, there would be no reason for these things to be included, because they were irrelevant, in the Prime Minister's own words.
And the fact that these were included, so in the witness statements that were provided, sorry, was it to the Director of Public Prosecutions, is that right? Yeah,
that's correct.
So to those statements, they included the new Labour Party line about China, which is that basically we want to get along with them for money, and then also a quote from the Labour Party manifesto.
That is correct. So that completely undermines what the Prime Minister has been saying on this for 2 weeks, which was this was all about the Tories. This was all about the Conservative government's policy on China, because that's when the offences were committed. And that would have been reasonable, but now it looks very unreasonable because there are two statements of Labour Party policy in the two statements produced by the Deputy National Security Advisor under the Labour Party. So the key question here is, why did he include those? Are we expected to believe that the Deputy National Security Advisor, acting completely on his own, decided, well, I didn't do it in the first statement, but in the second and third statement, I'm going to include an irrelevant statement of the existing government's policy? It really makes no sense at all, and it calls into question everything that was said in the House of Commons today.
Gosh, OK. So what specific... Because the Prime Minister, of course, is, as we keep hearing about, aside from being the son of a toolmaker, which I thought was obvious for numerous different reasons, is also... the former head of the DPP, the former head of the CPS, high-flying lawyer. So very careful with his words, you would have thought. So did he say anything specifically in Parliament today that you think might now get him?
He said that the Deputy National Security Advisor did not have any discussions about his evidence with pretty much anybody within Number 10 or the Home Office.
And yet, miraculously, the line from the Labour Party manifesto and... Right, I see. So, go on, you go.
I was going to say, that doesn't make any sense, because if that were the case, then he would have done it for the first statement under the Tories, and he did not. So it looks very much like someone leaned upon him to include a statement about the current policy, which was soft, and the third statement is even softer. These statements get more dovish as time goes on.
And what the Tories are now saying, as I understand it, is that, OK, we've got these witness statements, more questions raised, and again, I will just say that I don't think there will be a single man, woman or child watching this show right now that believes the government's current line on this, and that is very telling, right? So what the Tories now want is what they are calling the full China files to be released, which I did the Prime Minister say that he would release that today? I don't know. But what are these files? What are we expecting from that?
They want to get the minutes of the meetings about any discussion relating to this case, because the suspicion is that it was seen by the government that this case would cause negative diplomatic blowback from China. They thought, OK, well, if we end up prosecuting these guys, it's going to really hurt our relationship. We're in the midst of trade talks with China. We don't want this right now. It's very inconvenient. So that's the suspicion from the Conservative side. So they want to know what was discussed here, because if there was anybody within government that said, we can't have this espionage trial, it's going to hurt our economic relations with China, that would be extremely incendiary, extremely serious, and a dereliction of national security.
But we were also told that didn't happen. That's the thing as well. That's the other kicker, as I understand it as well, is that we were told on record in the House of Commons today by the Prime Minister that that has never happened. So if it has happened, then we're in, well, someone is anyway, not me, Sir Keir Starmer, is in quite big trouble as a result of that. Right, Luke, thank you very much. We needed that. I needed to hear all that stuff anyway, just trying to wrap my head around all of this, and I know my viewers and listeners will be very grateful. And who knows, at this rate, I'll probably be speaking to you again tomorrow. So Luke de Pulford there, who's the Executive Director of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China. OK, so... Mark, your reaction to what we've just heard from there, which appears that the statements that were given to the Director of Public Prosecutions were changed and included bits from the Labour manifesto.
Yeah, very, very helpful new readers start here guide by Luke de Pulford there. The interesting thing is you get the statements, but then everybody's going to say, OK, but what was the process that actually led to those statements being crafted in that particular fashion? You know, for example, if we are to believe that the only thing that mattered was what the Conservative government of 2023 thought of China, why on earth are you including stuff from the Labour Party manifesto a year later? Extraordinary to include that. But we'd also want to know, and I think, to my mind, this is the nub of it politically, if not legally, was the this chap, Matthew Collins, was he sort of told, Matthew, you get on with it, go with the feeling in your bones, kind of wing it. I'm a busy man, don't come back to me about it. And Jonathan Powell, your boss, he's quite a busy man. I know he's called the National Security Advisor, but he's got a lot on his plate. So, Matt, if you don't mind just working from home for a couple of days and coming up with the best
Don't send any emails to us.
Don't send any emails, and we'll take it from there. Did that happen? Or were there people suggesting to him, yeah, you know what, this could be a bit tricky. We're trying to get some more sort of trade with China. If it did just fall short of the necessary claims to bring a prosecution, that could be handy, Matt. Now, I don't know which happened, but it's kind of one or t'other, isn't it?
I think we've got an idea. Yeah, I mean, Steve, it does stink.
There's a certain whiff to it, I'll give you that. It's not smelling great. In the defence of the way that they did it, I guess the National Security Advisor will be looking at just stuff within the nation. This sounds like international if China's involved, so that's how he gets out of it. You would imagine the deputy would be the one to deploy on China. Top of the shop, what's the matter? The national, your boss is busy doing France or something.
Yeah, Guatemala.
China. It's almost like it splits into two different issues, which overlap, but has something been, as Keir Starmer misled Parliament, will be the only way that it really impacts him. This is like getting, Al Capone on tax or David Lammy on fishing. The two main ways of looking at this, which really doesn't really, it matters because it'll end a career. It doesn't really matter in as much as did this government entirely acquiesce just because of bending over to China, effectively?
Yes. The other thing is that it would appear at the moment that Sir Keir Starmer is very proud of the defence, that he's running an incompetent ship, which is that during this he thought, I'm not going to get the head of the national security involved, I'm not going to get involved myself, I'm not going to involve anyone in the cabinet, and we're going to let it collapse. And he's quite proud of that fact, which I find odd.
Well, the same thing happened, if we are to believe The Spectator, some years ago, in that 4 separate sources have told The Spectator that there were 2 serious hacks, one from Russia, one from China, and they're both completely covered up, and one of them, allegedly, was to save embarrassment to a former Prime Minister. Now, which one could that be, we wonder?
It was Boris Johnson. Well, that
really?
Yes, it was.
You surprised me.
This is good. Let's go a couple of these papers up, because it's on a few of them here. So we've got to start with the Mail. So Chinese stole secrets from Number 10 for years. Newly exposed outrage by communist regime heaps fresh pressure on Starmer over collapse spy case. I'll give you a bit more detail on this. The Daily Mail understands that in a catastrophic blunder, the Chinese were allowed to buy a company.
It's beyond belief.
I can't even read it.
It's beyond belief.
We're allowed to buy.
This is during Boris's tenure, right? Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to try to get through this. In a catastrophic blunder, the Chinese were allowed to buy a company that controlled a data hub used by government departments to exchange information, including on highly classified projects. Right? We allowed them to do it. Former Number 10A Dominic Cummings yesterday said the communist superpower stole vast amounts of material, including some with the highest security classification. It was then buried as part of a pattern of Whitehall behaviour in which the British state had prioritised Chinese money over its own security.
It's the sort of mistake anybody can make, really, isn't it? I've got a top secret data hub. Some chap from the Chinese Communist Party's made a decent bid for it. Why don't I hand it over to him?
The thing is, that is so much worse than 2 fresh-faced young gits.
No, I don't agree with that.
Come on.
I don't agree with that.
2 fresh-faced young gits who, and we don't know allegedly what they did and what information they gave. What access? They surely cannot have had access to the sort of information.
No, but there is a difference here, right? One is just staggering incompetence, and we failed to buy any virus protection software or a firewall for all this highly secret national information, and the Chinese Communist Party agents managed to break in. It doesn't look like you exactly need James Bond-esque ability to break in, because we just haven't defended ourselves well enough. Nevertheless, these would have been Chinese agents. The difference here is the supposition is that there are British citizens who were spying for the Chinese Communist Party. The impact may have been less, but it's about the malintent of those involved, right? And that's the difference between the spying issue and the failure to have proper security protocols for the other issue.
But the level of information and data spectator would have been...
The incompetence may be worse than the malign intended outcome.
Yeah, both can be true. It can be terrible that you don't actually prosecute people who are Brits spying on Britain, and also terrible when you hire Mr. Wu's security services to keep all your data sensitive.
And spring rolls on the side.
Absolutely bonkers. Look, there's more about this as well, because there are other aspects to this. Like, do you remember when the government basically made it easier for people to hack into things like WhatsApp, remove the security encryption from it as well? Who was going to exploit that? Oh, maybe China. So thank you. Well done, everybody. Lots more on this, but also something that's going to affect every single one of us.
Of course, we're looking at further measures on tax and spending to make sure that the public finances always add up.
She's going to cry again, I'm going to cry again, we're all going to cry again, because Rachel Reeves is the nightmare before Christmas. Her budget is looming. Stay tuned.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
TfL are actually encouraging people to take their cats on the tube. Presumably, they want more people to travel on the tube, and they're saying let them relax on the floor during the trip. Bring some toys with them and so on. It does say they have to have them in a harness or on a leash, so they're not being completely irresponsible, if you like. And we've now got a response from the Cats Protection charity, who say it was shocking and warned that such travelling conditions would be hugely stressful for the animals.
Oh, for goodness sake, what is wrong with them? How are people supposed to get anywhere if you've got a pet, for example, that you're transporting? You have to have a car. Do you know what? My dog loves public transport so much that if a bus stops when I'm chatting to somebody and the door's open, on a couple of occasions he's just popped himself on a lead, and I have to, you know, luckily, thank goodness we still have drivers in vehicles, you know, they're not driverless vehicles, because, you know, they spot this dog and go, excuse me, mate, you haven't got a bus pass.
There's a famous dog from the past from Lewis who used to nip on a train and go around the southern region on a train and get back to Lewis in the evening, just on his own.
Yeah, because they're sociable creatures, aren't they? Lots of them like it. I think the issue with the TfL stuff is the fact they're showing these rucksacks, because they're a bit controversial, aren't they? Or the front sacks they've got there, where the cats are kind of inside.
Catastrophe.
Yeah, very good, Norman. I think that's what people take issue with. Although one of my friends has one of these cat rucksacks, and the cat absolutely loves it, always hopping in there.
You see, I think that's the...
I think it depends on the cat.
It does depend.
What about other animals? You take snakes on, for example.
No, thank you.
Snakes on a train.
Love it. Oh, yeah. New film.
I think so.
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
OK, right, so we're going to whiz you through some of these front pages now. They're going to keep rolling, and they are China-related. The Times, Whitehall data breach gave secrets to the Chinese. Let's keep that on the screen, because, as is often the case here, the newspapers go to print, and then more new, fresher information emerges online. And I'm going to read you this now, and prepare to brace yourselves. So, Chinese state actors systematically and successfully compromised classified UK government computer systems for more than a decade. China has routinely accessed both low and medium-level classified information on the UK government servers for the last 10 years, including information marked official sensitive and secret, as well as some material on secure IT networks, which obviously weren't secure. That included confidential documents related to the formulation of government policy, private communications and diplomatic cables. One of the people described Chinese efforts to access the British government as endless, so continual. Top secret information and intelligence will be the most damaging and could lead to a loss of life, as apparently not being compromised, although, you know, we know what we're going to find out tomorrow, don't we? One compromise related to a data centre in London, which we know we gave the Chinese access to. Can I just say on this, now we've given Chagos to Mauritius, who does that stand to benefit? China. We've stopped Apple using a particular type of encryption on anyone who's got an iPhone now. Who does that stand to benefit? China. I mean, surely Keir Starmer now that we definitively know all of this stuff, has to come out now and say that China is a national security.
They're still up against the unfortunate truth that we want the trade deals, we want the money. I mean, this is Section 6 of the thing that's released that says, you know, the government's committed to pursuing positive economic relationships with China. They knew what they knew at the time. If it's been decades of hacking, we know that we went through that weird phase of nearly getting them to build nuclear power stations. Thank goodness we didn't.
And Cameron drinking a pint, you know, all of this nonsense. I mean, it does say at the end of the Telegraph piece, it is unclear if the Labour government were made aware of the alleged breaches, these two breaches, the Russian and Chinese one. I want to know, why would one of them embarrass Boris specifically?
Well, I don't think it's so much that... I mean,
no, he says this. He says...
Well, this is what Cummings' claim is. He and Boris are not on speaking terms.
Well, I know, but you can't, on the one hand, believe everything that Cummings is saying here.
What's the claim? What's the claim? He says that there's something very embarrassing about Boris Johnson.
No, it says that it was allegedly covered up to avoid embarrassing a former Prime Minister. Now, why would it embarrass a former Prime Minister?
I agree. I think that's... So the problem... There's a reason why you might not reveal that there's been a major breach of security, right? You don't immediately come out and say, oh, guys, here's the cheat code for all of our top secret databases. You know, we're really sorry this got into enemy hands. You've got to be concerned at that. And just to be clear here,
Boris is very close to the
Sorry, I'm just wondering...
if you want to accuse Boris of being...
I think you might be talking about Cameron.
If he's talking about Cameron, he's talking about Boris. Boris has great Russian contacts.
If you think Boris is a Russian agent, that's a different accusation.
No, I didn't say that at all.
There are good reasons to not release that you've had a major security breach, you know, for obvious reasons. However, this is in the bunker of number 10. Patrick, you were mentioning TikTok, WhatsApp. I mean, there's no security on these at all to speak of. The bunker of number 10.
We had the rule put in place that you're not allowed to have a Chinese electric car on certain military sites. Well, how are you doing that without saying they're an enemy?
Yes.
All of this implies it. You're just not taking that extra step over the line.
But people have got TikToks on their phones, and kids.
But he's got to do it.
China has all the data of young people.
But we cannot now openly be being told as a country and as a public and as a press that China has literally
broken into the bunker of number 10.
And that they have endlessly tried to hack as much stuff as possible.
Well, why didn't the Tories say
that?
I get it. But now that this is out there, he has to come out and class them as a national security threat. If he doesn't do that, I mean, what is he? Is he being cuckolded by China?
Well, it is. Look, I mean, I think the truth of it is, if you're reading between the lines, they are trying to balance this thing by saying, well, you know, the Chinese, they're pretty bad news, but they fall just 1% or 2 short of being sworn enemies, just 1% or 2 short. So we kind of we're treating them with suspicion, but we're not going over that line.
All the money. That's what it is. You're not quite evil enough, and you're rich enough for us to try and get rid of it.
The other lines coming out, by the way, are from Dominic Cummings, who says that if we knew the extent to which China had stolen things like our intellectual property, we would be, I mean, even more outraged than we already are. Is there not a wider lesson here for us all, which is that countries like China, that we thought we could bring in from the cold, and if we show them a bit of love and give them a hug and a bit of openness, that will gradually get them round to our way of thinking. What they see is weakness, and they exploit that weakness.
We are so naive.
And they rip us apart from the inside.
Do you think it's naivety and think that we're going to give them a hug and make them all democratic? Do you not think it is we want some of that money?
No, we're
in a situation where we need the trade, and that will be true tomorrow when you want them
possibly.
to...
I think there is a genuine attitude, though, that we can westernise, we can liberalise these people, a bit like we had with Iraq. You know, oh God, if we take over Iraq and get rid of Saddam, they'll come round to our way of thinking.
Patrick, you're right about this in many ways. I mean, obviously we had Tiananmen Square, but then after that, and particularly when you had Deng Xiaoping as the Chinese premier, the sort of view was, if China becomes capitalist, they'll sooner or later, probably sooner, become liberal. right? So actually, if they become a marketised economy rather than a communist economy, before you know it, freedom of speech, freedom of expression will break out right across China.
Yeah.
Turned out that did not happen.
It's gone the other way.
They've sort of pseudo, slightly bastardised capitalist economy rather than a state-run communist economy, but there hasn't been that improvement in civil liberties. So that judgment that it's starting to move in the right direction, they're starting to liberalise, at least economically, you know, from the days of the 1950s and the 1960s, and surely Western freedoms will follow. No, that hypothesis
We
turned
always
out to
make
be
a
false.
mistake to think that other people think like us.
Yeah.
They do not.
I like the fact that you're saying capitalism doesn't solve everything. I'm writing that down. You said
most things. Most things.
Okay, all right. Well, look, lots of China there. I hope you don't mind, but I mean, it is massive. It's huge. But coming up in just a sec. The budget of doom looms. It's tax, and...
We beat the mainstream media in the United States, we beat the establishment in the United States, and he created the greatest political movement in the history of this country.
Bev Turner is going to react to Nigel Farage's blockbuster interview with Eric Trump. It's Patrick Christys tonight, late edition.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's simply more of the same during the next 24 hours. If you've seen a lot of low cloud this week so far, you're going to see more again during the next 24 to 48 hours as high pressure simply sits where it is. It's not moving anywhere for the time being. And within that high pressure, we've got a lot of trapped low cloud, unable to break up, unable to shift. So it's just going to sit in the same places. A few exceptions, however. It is being broken up over some of the more rugged terrain, so parts of West Wales into the southwest, and more especially parts of Northern England and Scotland seeing a few cloud breaks overnight. When we get that, it will be a chilly start to the day, temperatures dipping to 3, 4, 5 Celsius across, say, sheltered parts of the Grampians, where we've got those clear skies overnight. Northern Scotland, at least the far north, especially Orkney, seeing some light showers from the word go, 1 or 2 showers just fringing upon the Western Isles as well. Otherwise, it's a dry start for most, but we do have these showers to mention as well for East Anglia and Kent. But inland, plenty of fine weather, settled, yes, under that area of high pressure, but that low cloud still with us throughout the day in most places. But like I say, there are a few exceptions. Western fringes, as well as parts of central Scotland, likely to see the best of any brighter spells through Thursday afternoon. Temperatures very similar to the last few days, 13 to 16 Celsius. Friday morning, more of the same once again, with a few light showers for the north of Scotland, 1 or 2 into East Anglia and the south of England. Perhaps the cloud developing more holes in the south towards the end of the afternoon, and actually Saturday's looking marginally brighter. Still a lot of cloud, but perhaps a better chance of some sunshine. That is before more unsettled weather returns on Sunday.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. Let's bring up the front page of The Guardian, because budget will raise taxes on wealthy to fix public finances, says Reeves. Now, we've actually had an admittance today, finally, from the Chancellor that taxes are going to go up, pretty much, and that there's going to be some kind of spending cuts. Have we got the start, I think, from today, the clip from today, where Rachel Reeves basically finally admitted that taxes were going to be going up at the budget?
Well, we've got a budget on the 26th of November, and I've always been very clear that we will continue to prioritise economic and fiscal stability in the UK because that is so important for renewal and investment. And so as we get the forecast and as we develop our plans, of course, we're looking at further measures on tax and spending to make sure that the public finances always add up.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it directly contradicts what she said before, which was after the last budget, which was that basically she wasn't going to be coming back for any more taxes. Mark, so who's getting taxed and how much?
Well, The Guardian suggests it's going to be on the wealthy. I suspect she's going to try and find a way of hitting property, because that's one thing that's pretty hard to move or hide. So I suspect if you own a property that's worth a decent chunk of cash, you're going to be hit hard. She will say again that this is a temporary measure. You know, it's going to, I'm just going to one-off fix it this time, as she did last time. She said, I won't come back for more. That will probably be said this time. Just this year, I need a little bit more from you. Just this year.
Income tax temporary to help?
Income tax was brought in order to help us win the Napoleonic Wars.
How's that going?
Which I think have concluded. I think those are over, but income tax is still with us. As Ronnie Reagan said, there is nothing so permanent as a temporary government programme.
Right. Go on then. So, I mean, you're a fabulously wealthy man, so presumably you're livid.
Yeah, well, no, I am livid because they didn't need to make the election campaign with all of these promises. Things were going in their way anyway. So you laid out all of this no tax on working people, which then does this thing, which I find it's worse, this disingenuous tax. We're going to get taxed that amount of money, and if they actually just said, here's how much we're taxing, you'd know it. But it feels like this nation is funded by speeding tickets and parking fines. At some point, you'll find they don't increase income tax, but the entire nation is a box junction, or something like that. You can't drive without being fined for it. So all of these other ways of taxing us, now we know it's not going to be stamp duty because Kemi's painted into a corner on that one. What we've got, capital gains on selling of property, or the dreaded VAT. Easy to make it work, but the standard of living for all of us is going to take a slap. So I'm worried about this. Tax and spend, only the spend is ever going to work. The tax obviously slows down an economy, because it always would. And at the moment, it seems all taxing and not any spending that's helping the economy. Yeah. So it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, Judge Cornelius, sorry, we haven't heard from you on this yet. So Rachel is expected to announce a package of tax increases on the 26th of November. We are also going to have tax increased at a higher and faster rate than any other country in the G7. Is just a little bit of this her fault?
Yes, some of it is her fault, but I would say the bulk of it isn't. The bulk of it is because she's been having to shovel stuff into a great big hole that she inherited. You can't wipe out 14 years of non-growth and just disaster as far as the finances are concerned in a year. You cannot do that.
She said she had. She told us after the last budget, I've cleared it up. The hole is filled.
No,
she couldn't have been clearer.
She didn't say that. She
won't have to come back for any more. That was a one-off hit.
She did not say the hole is filled.
She said it was a one-off hit, and it's now we've now stabilised it.
She made the hole twice as big.
Yeah, she has.
That's our problem.
We're going to go. Sorry, we're going to just hear just a little bit from Rachel Reeves, I believe, here now, and this is what she said after the last budget.
We have now drawn a line under the inheritance that I faced. Public finances are now on a firm footing, and also our public services are funded in a proper way. And we've now set the envelope for those public services for the rest of this Parliament, which means we're not going to have to come back for more.
Well, just to emphasise the kind of relationship, special relationship that we have here and in the States, I'm going to go to Bev Turner now, who's doing Late Show Live. And I believe, Bev, there's a relevance here as well, because you're going to be doing quite a lot on the economy. Is that right?
That's right. Rachel Reeves obviously is in town this week. Everyone's in town. The IMF are here. There are huge trade affairs going on here this week. And how do we look on the global stage, Patrick? Well, a bit weak and a bit embarrassing, let's be honest. There's no doubt about it. you couldn't have two administrations with more different approach on the economy. You've got Donald Trump, who says all he wants to do is take taxes down. He just wants to get rid of taxes. He's taken taxes off tips already for people who work in the hospitality industry. And then you've got Rachel Reeves saying, well, I'm just going to tax the rich, tax the rich. It'd be so interesting tonight to talk to my guests in the studio. How can we be more America? Because let's face it, nobody likes paying tax. Nobody wants to be paying any more tax, particularly when we don't feel we get anything for our public services. I've done a little experiment today here in DC. I went out and bought some grocery shopping. Might not sound like the biggest political job of the year. However, we've got Anna Riley to do the same in the UK, and we're doing a comparison of a kind of, the essentials, items in the supermarket shop. How does it compare? Are things as bad in the UK as they feel they are compared to how they are here in Washington? Because the cost of living is an issue which comes up time and time again when I talk to people here in Washington. Doesn't matter if you're an Uber driver or you run a company. The idea that things are very expensive and they feel expensive is the same here. So we're going to be talking about that. And Prince Andrew, and we're going to have Lois McClatchy-Miller on whether you should be able to pray outside an abortion clinic as well, with a new story on that, a new line on that.
Well, look, but all topics are obviously relevant, very much, both sides of the channel. That grocery one, I'm going to be fascinated by that, because that is something that really winds me up. Every time I go and fill my car up and things, and I think, what I do, genuinely, I know it's pathetic, I do think, I wonder what the Americans are paying for this. And then, you go around the shops getting more expensive every single week, and I think, hang on a minute, is this happening in America? I think, well, why? Why are we paying more? Well, net zero has got a large part to play in that, hasn't it? But anyway, Bev, look, thank you very much. Well done, always. I'll see you soon. See you soon. Bev Turner there, who's going to be live with us for the next 2 hours. Right, so apparently, Jeremy Clarkson is going to stand against Ed Miliband in Doncaster at the next election. Get ready for that. That's next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you are searching for some holiday sunshine, I can recommend Portugal as one of the warmer and sunnier spots on Thursday. Drier in the Balearics following a wet start to the week, but the rain that has affected parts of Spain and the Balearics now moving through Sardinia, affecting parts of southern Italy into Greece as well. So very lively thunderstorms and some large rainfall amounts. Still some showers across Spain, otherwise mostly fine for Portugal. And the wet weather in Greece becomes more widespread into Croatia and Greece later on.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back. So, potentially going head-to-head in the next general election for the seat of Doncaster North, big seat. It could be broadcaster Jeremy Clarkson versus Energy Secretary Ed Miliband. The prospect of Clarkson running for office was actually first raised, well, actually, to be honest with you, it was first raised about a decade ago, but he is now, I think, doing it. He posted on X this weekend, "People of Doncaster North, are you happy with your MP? Would you like it if someone from your neck of the woods kicked him out?" Now, many people online responded to this post urging him to stand, but when the time comes, likely in 2029, would the people of Doncaster North vote for the Top Gear presenter? I do think the question seriously is going to be whether or not they're going to continue to vote for Ed Miliband. Bills going up, you know, he's a weird guy, I'll just say it. And yeah, I just don't know if they'll continue to vote for him. Would you rather have Clarkson or Miliband?
He was weird before the last election as well.
Weirder,
it's not
mate.
just.
No,
You reckon
TikTok's made him weirder.
TikTok that's China again. We're back to them again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
China's got the hand up.
Yeah. I think maybe so. And I'm not sure, even though you might like this specific outcome, I'm not sure we should revel in the idea that politics becomes this reality TV show deal. You know, if you're famous, then you stand a chance of doing well in politics. I don't know, that sits badly with me. In this particular case, look, I think the problem with net zero is we all get confused whether we should be pretending that there is no eco problem at all. No, get that line straight down the middle. There are things that need to be done. Even Elon Musk, who's, you know, the darling of the right these days, thinks that you need technology to fix climate problems. He therefore admits that climate problems are problems. But it's the fact that net zero is just going the wrong way around it. It's more costly without having enough results. It's costing too much money.
Well, Ed Miliband could. I've never been convinced that Ed Miliband was ever a natural fit for the people of Doncaster North, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, of course, all of those seats would have been considered absolutely safe Labour for life. You could put in anyone with a red rosette. He's got a majority of about 9,000, I think. I was just looking up. I didn't realise Jeremy Clarkson was born in Doncaster, right? So he is actually a local chap. Here's the nightmare. You know, I bang on about this on the right of centre of politics all the time. You don't want Clarkson plus a good local reform candidate, plus a decent effort from the Conservative Party. Ed Miliband will get back in on about 25% of the vote.
Someone would just have to stand aside.
Correct.
Because otherwise, what's the point? I don't see how...
Clarkson should join one of the local parties.
And I don't see...
That goes a bit to Steve's point, really, that sort of, if you're serious about this, pick your party and go and run for them in Doncaster North, rather than it being sort of, you know, sponsored by Netflix or whatever platform it shows on. Pick a party then.
The thing is, he's become a folk hero because of the farming series.
Sure.
I mean, and the thing is, he's an absolutely brilliant writer. That may not be important to the people of Doncaster. He wrote a brilliant column last Sunday in the Sunday Times, worth reading, about it being taken to hospital. So, you know, 2029, will he be healthy enough to run? You ask yourself. You know, he's not necessarily a healthy man.
Yeah, but wait, you're saying this, what I mean about this individual case, you might like who's standing here, but when we're sat here in a few years' time talking about the latest person from Love Island who's going for Ilford South,
dreadful, yes.
then it will be the end of politics.
Yeah.
But Clarkson has been political, right? He's not just sort of, you know, a game show host who we don't know anything about. He has written about his political ideas. Interestingly, though, however, devout Remainer. right? He was a devout Remainer, says he still is. No, that's a perfectly legitimate point of view to take, but Doncaster voted 69% for Leave.
Yes,
in the
however, Ed Miliband voted Remain.
Yeah, therefore they might need someone with Clarkson's wit, Clarkson's fame, but who was on the Brexit side of the argument.
Possibly, of course, a step forward.
I don't have that many connections to Doncaster.
True for a kebab there once, doesn't mean, but yes. Right, let's just quickly do house building, or lack of, actually, and it is on the front of the Eye. There you go, I'm across my brief. Leaked memo reveals that Labour plans to slash affordable homes targets. The requirements for developers to provide affordable housing in London is set to be cut by more than a half. A memo from government housing officials shows that the target could be slashed to 20% of new homes instead of 35% of new homes. So there you go. Could we just remind ourselves what Steve Reed, the bloke who literally went around Labour Party conference raffling hats away that had "Build, Baby, Build" on. Let's remind ourselves of the Horlicks that he made of his interview with our very own Camilla Tominey.
No. How many new homes have been built since Labour took power?
I don't have the exact. I'm not Wikipedia.
You don't have...
No, I'm not Wikipedia.
No,
I'm here to talk to you about
secretary.
policy. No, that doesn't mean I know every single statistic going on in the entire housing sector.
You don't know how many
only know it
homes...
because it's written in front of you.
Well, but I'm not
tell
in
me what it is,
charge
and we
of
can
housing.
have a...
Just going to remind you again of the Eye front page here. Leaked memo reveals Labour plan to slash affordable housing targets. Not great.
Yeah, well, it's not great for them. But here's the thing, right? This has been the problem, from what I can derive just from a few lines on the front of the Eye. At the moment, developers, if they manage to get themselves their hands on some land that they can actually build housing on, and we need to release much more land to build housing on, they're told, well, you've got to build, like a third of it or more has got to be so-called affordable housing. Obviously, ultimately, all housing is affordable to someone, otherwise you wouldn't be able to sell it, right? But the developers are then saying, well, we're not going to build then if we have to build that proportion of affordable housing. You'll have to cut it from 35% to 20%, otherwise the books don't add up. So it might actually be we at least get something built because the central plan target is.
But if it's in London, no one's going to be able to afford to live in it.
That's always happened because the council seem to be taking backhanders just for this very reason, because that's always in the plans. So much percentage of affordable housing, and it never happens.
Yeah, I mean there is a chance that because it's London, I presume I couldn't afford to live in it anyway. So maybe that's a market force issue. But I just going back to the clip, that lovely bit where he says you only know it because it's written on a piece of paper in front of you. That's what we expected of you too. We didn't want you to go around and count them. It would come from someone handing you a bit of paper.
You only know that because you're briefed before the interview. I'm not briefed.
But it's actually just reading, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's so embarrassing.
It's just you only know that because
the thing is, it's such a predictable question. You know, sometimes you trip up prime ministers or whatever by saying, OK, do you know who the deputy prime minister of Pakistan is?
Or the price of bread. The price of a loaf of bread.
But I mean, you're the housing secretary. I mean, how did he go through sort of the, I wonder what they might ask me about. Oh, yeah, possibly housing. Oh, yeah, well, I'll be able to blag my way through that.
Okay, about that going, you can't believe it. They asked me about housing.
But do you not think that just shows you exactly how lazy they are? He thought at that conference he was going to get a load of red hats printed with "Build, Baby, Build" on, get a load of social media videos of him lobbing those hats out all over the place, etc. And that was all he had to do. And then it turns out that being asked how many homes are you building or have you built, he can't answer.
How long has he been housing minister for?
I don't know, since
more than an hour.
And then it turns out that there's a leak memo that reveals that actually we're going to slash the affordable housing target. And I know that I kind of joked about this before, I'll joke about it again. We are simultaneously going to be paying to help rebuild Gaza. So there is a chance that this Labour government might rebuild more homes in Gaza than create affordable homes in Britain.
I sincerely doubt that. That will absolutely not be the case.
I think it might.
At least they'd be affordable.
Yeah.
So it's a heck of a
commute.
Do
you wonder if they'd ban? Do you reckon?
Way beyond the end of the district line, I think.
Well, not for long. I tell you, if Sadiq Khan had his way, it'd take us straight there. Anyway, right, OK, that's basically. I think that's about enough of this. Thank you very much to my wonderful panel. Look, just as a quick summary, most of the papers tomorrow, you've got a bit on China, you've got a bit on the economy, and you've got a bit on housing there. So all big stuff to go at. Next, and for the next 2 hours, it is the wonderful Bev Turner, who is hosting The Late Show live, and it sounds like she's got some absolutely fascinating stuff coming your way. So here it is.
Thank Thank you, Patrick. We're going to be talking about the economy as well, because I don't know about you, but I just love comparing how it is in the UK for Brits compared to how life is here in America. We look across the sea, so much of it is better than the UK. Trust me, being it is. But when it comes to the price of...
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
You're ready, you can just see it buzzing. The New Zealand-France game is going on, the bronze final in the stadium at the moment, and there's about 45,000 people already in the stadium watching it. So the energy in this place is unbelievable, and the excitement, because this game is a real game of jeopardy, the final between England and Canada.
I mean, you've got caps galore, you've been involved in coaching men and women's rugby. So, and, you know, you won in 1994. What's it like to be a winner?
Well, this is the shirt that I wore back in the day in 1994. This is my World Cup winning shirt, so I'm hoping it's going to bring a bit of luck to the girls. But it was an incredibly special time. But for me to see how the game has changed, we had 6,000 people watch us win that World Cup, and now women's sport in this country, it's our Lionesses, the Red Roses, the Cricket World Cup is the tickets are on sale for that next year, and people are choosing to watch women's sport and really, really enjoying the event. So it's fantastic, and the change over that 30-year span is quite remarkable.
What do you think has made the difference? Why is it becoming, I mean, as you say, football is the same. Why is it becoming more acceptable now? And not just for women and girls to follow the sport as well, but I go to West Ham regularly for my sins, but so many men are now starting to pay a little bit of attention without being too sneery.
Well, absolutely, but I think the biggest thing is the quality of the product. because the girls have been given contracts and are now able to train, not have to go to work and then leave a full day's work and come training and then do almost a second job in order to deliver on the skills. Both the Lionesses, the Roses, everybody now at the top end of the game is being financially rewarded for it so they can actually concentrate on their sport.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Rachel Reeves is in town. She's been telling the world that the UK economy is about to soar. Do you believe her? On The Late Show Live tonight.
We're looking at further measures on tax and spending.
Money talks, indeed. Rachel Reeves is here in Washington.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.